big ordeal getting here today. My mom was a flight attendant for 25 years, which is good and bad. The good part being that I fly free on her airline and relatively cheap on all of the others. The bad being that I spend most of my life stuck in airports due to weather or other delays or someone coming in at the last minute and taking my seat because I'm on standby and that kind of thing. So thank you for your patience. I really appreciate you all staying to listen to me talk. So my speech is titled, God Really Does Hate Fags, because I feel like this is what we're really getting at when we're having this conversation. Anytime anyone disagrees with LGBT rights, what they're saying is that they have a religious conviction that gays are bad or that God doesn't like them. So I purposely made it inflammatory. I'm not trying to necessarily reclaim the term, but I am trying to drive the point home that this is what we're dealing with and this is how the people that we're dealing with feel. By the way, I work for American Atheists and I'm the development director. I'm sorry about the cutoff of the screen there. So this is just a brief outline of what I hope to talk about. I won't spend too much time looking at it because I'm going to talk about it. First, I want to show you a video. And this is a video that I actually have put in the beginning and the end of my presentation because I thought it was so great. It's only about a minute long.
Thank you for choosing Chick-fil-A. Can I take your order, sir?
Yeah, can I get a fresh squeezed lemonade and an 8-count nugget?
Now, sir, would you like to try some of our new dipping sauces?
Sure.
We have the honey alt terrorist or Muslim mustard. It's an explosion of honey mustard taste. We also have the Jews Killed Jesus barbecue sauce. It's a sweet, tangy barbecue sauce with a spicy kick that'll sneak up on you just like a Jew would. And finally, we have the God Hates Fags ranch dressing. It's a creamy flavor.
Oh, okay, I get it. I'll just have the barbecue sauce.
I'm sorry, sir, you got called by name.
The Chick-fil-A barbecue sauce?
Sir, you know the name. Go ahead and say it.
I'll just have the honey mustard.
The honey alt terrorist or Muslim mustard?
I'll the ranch dressing.
The God Hates Fags ranch dressing?
I'll the barbecue
The
sauce.
Jews Killed Jesus barbecue sauce?
I'll the honey
The
mustard.
honey alt terrorist or Muslim mustard?
I'll the barbecue
The
sauce.
Jews Killed Jesus barbecue sauce?
I'll the ranch.
The God Hates Fags ranch dressing?
Fine, I'll have the God Hates Fags ranch dressing.
I knew we would agree.
So that's from the Second City. They're a really good YouTube group. Okay, so my background is that I was raised in the Bible Belt. I was raised Christian, Baptist actually, and around age 12, 13, puberty set in, I found out that I was bisexual, and black, and a female. And, all of these things came together to, not lead me down the righteous trail towards biblical literalism, which I had been, so keen on. So that's the main thing that happened. That's my story. The Bible is fundamentally against lots of my different identity groups, and so I'm fundamentally against the Bible. And so the caveat is that I'm only one voice, and my views don't necessarily represent those of American Atheists, so if we get in the Q&A and I say something, it doesn't necessarily mean that American Atheists does, but, they're generally aligned. So the main thing that I want to get across today, and if you get anything from my presentation, it's the idea of intersectionality. And intersectionality was invented, or the theory was proposed by Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989, and it essentially presents the idea that when you have various different identity groups, they come together, and that kind of conflation and the interaction of the various groups is greater or different or varied than it would be if you just had one group or another. So that I'm black, bisexual, and female is a different experience than if I were a black male and bisexual or any of those other combinations. So I just included a few of these categories. They include visible and invisible statuses, and I wanted to kind of go over a few examples. So I just want you all to read over this briefly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I think it's kind of obvious once the idea is presented to you. But imagine the different experience of a black bisexual atheist woman compared to a heterosexual Arabic woman or any of these other characteristics. So the experiences that they have are based on not only their identity, but their place in time and their place in the world and what that country or area, their politics and that kind of nature. So I really want everyone to keep that in mind when we're talking about why there might not be as many LGBT people in the atheist movement, or why there might not be a lot of black people in the LGBT movement. It's because when you take on a public persona and you take on a public identity, especially an invisible one, which ostensibly means you don't have to own up to it. You can pass. You can not say that you're an atheist. You can not say that you're gay. You can live your life arguably somewhat easier in the closet with these things. However, it doesn't help everyone else. It doesn't help reduce the stigma of gay people to be in the closet, and it doesn't help reduce the stigma of atheists to not say you're one. So again, I want to talk about this, the difference or the similarities between the LGBT identity and the atheist identity is that they're both invisible, they both suffer severe discrimination. You can be killed for both of these things in various places in the world today. And they're complicated in terms of how they relate to religion. We can't act as if we live in a society where religion doesn't make a difference. We have to interact with Christians and Muslims and all kinds of different people with different beliefs every day, and they have to interact with us. So I urge people to just kind of keep that in mind, that LGBT people and atheists have a complicated, it's not, we just don't like them or anything like that. We just disagree with them and they might want to kill us. So I just wanted to say again, if you get anything out of it, it's awareness and empathy for people with lots of different identity groups. If you're a white male, middle class, I have absolutely nothing against you, but you kind of have to understand that not everyone is, and that we have different experiences and different motivations for coming out to things like this, or for coming out in general. It's harder for us to take that on, and I think that being atheist, you all are in a position of greater empathy because you have taken that on. You have said, I am this invisible group that I know that will be stigmatized, but I'm taking that identity on because it helps people down the road, and it helps me to be honest with myself. And I wanted to also talk about what the secular movement could do to kind of appeal to these different groups. We have this idea of mission creep, that if we try to say something about LGBT issues even though the only reason to be against LGBT rights is religious, then we're somehow stepping outside of the box of, I don't know, taking the 10 Commandments out of church houses, or keeping prayer out of schools, which are also very important, but I think we risk being irrelevant to the groups we're trying to appeal to if we don't take a stand for equality in general, because that's what we want as well. So, like I said, religion is the #1 reason for opposing LGBT rights. It's the only one I've ever heard of, and I was joking with someone on the plane ride today, and I said, I also give you as a second one. I guess some people just generally don't like it, but that's no reason to legislate, and I had to think long and hard to come up with just another reason. We also have progressive religious communities, and they advocate for gay rights, and they're out there on the front lines. And they're saying that, this is an equality issue and we're fighting for it and God loves everyone and blah, blah, blah. We need to be out there too. Because my fear is that when LGBT people earn equality or closer to it, then the churches will be right there like they were after the civil rights movement, saying that they did it, instead of that they were the reason that it wasn't there to begin with. So I really urge everyone to just, if nothing else, this issue is so cut and dry as a religious one that we really should be out in arms, because we have the moral high ground here. And this is just a funny little Chick-fil-A thing. It's a quote from S. Truett Cathy, and he was the founder of Chick-fil-A. The current president is Dan Cathy now, and he's the one who's said all of those remarks recently. But it's essentially poking fun at the fact that they don't have no problem having pork on their menu, but they do seem to espouse this idea about traditional marriage. All right, so why I'm boycotting Chick-fil-A? I just thought I'd go into this. It's not really to say that everyone else should, but there's been a lot of stir up on the blogosphere and internet about free speech, and that, boycotting Chick-fil-A is violating this person's free speech. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. He can say whatever he wants, but I'm certainly not going to give my money to an organization that gives millions of dollars to oppress me. So my gate commandment is, thou shalt not fund thine own oppression. Don't do that. So I just wanted to just go through really quickly to talk about how that money, I said that Chick-fil-A funds millions of dollars into gay oppression. I wanted to back that statement up. So Chick-fil-A, actually, the founder, the S. Truett Cathy guy, also founded an organization called WinShape, and it's a charity, a 501c3. And that received $7.8 million from Chick-fil-A in 2009. To be honest, I have no idea what the other money for this organization goes to. Maybe it's keeping kids in shape, maybe it's not, I have no idea. But I do know that $1 million from it went to anti-gay groups between 2003 and 2008. And in 2009 alone, $1.73 million went there. To these various other groups like Marriage and Family Legacy Fund, Focus on the Family, and Exodus International, which is known as the Pray the Gay Away group, if anyone's heard of that idea. And the other thing is that this is the latest filing. We don't even know what they've done in 2010 or 2011. It looks like they've been increasing their donations to these organizations, so I'm pretty sure when that does become public, that won't have stopped. So, but God says, what does God say? And I am by no means a biblical scholar, but I think that it's important, if I'm going to say that God hates fags, that I tell you why I think that's true. So I start with the New Testament because mostly everyone's Christian and that we're going to deal with, and if you start with the Old Testament, they're just going to say, oh, but that's the Old Testament, which is wrong in and of itself, but that's what they're going to do. So I just wanted to pick out the most quoted, most cited ones, in Romans, Paul in his bigoted ways, because he's pretty much good for that all the time, says that atheists, he actually I think he kind of makes a claim towards atheists, those who claim to be wise are actually fools, and that God gave them over to shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. This is the only explicit reference to being lesbian in the Bible, so I thought I'd throw that in there. And then 1 Corinthians, which is also known for that wonderful marriage sermon that everyone's heard, has this little bit in there about the 10 types of people that will not inherit the kingdom of God, including effeminates and men who lie with other men. Oh, I think I missed my honorable mention down there. Oh, I think it's cut off, but the honorable mention was actually Timothy. Oh no, it was Luke 17:34, and that's the one that says it's talking about the revelation, and it says that two men will be lying in bed, and one shall be taken, and the other shall be left, and then it says 2 women shall be grinding together, then one shall be taken and the other shall be left. I thought that was kind of hot. I thought I'd throw it in there. Oh, here we go. I broke them down. Here it is. Okay, and the Old Testament. The weirdest part about the Old Testament is this, the story about Noah and Ham. So apparently Ham saw his dad naked and therefore they're slaves? No, but that's what the Bible says. So it's kind of hypothesized that there might have been inappropriate sexual contact. Essentially, it says that Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father, Noah, naked, and told his brothers outside, and when Noah awoke from wine and found out that his youngest son had done that to him, what to him, I don't know, he said, "Curse to Canaan, the lowest of the slaves, he will be to his brothers." So that's where we get the whole curse of Canaan and Ham. I don't really get it, I don't claim to, but that's what's cited from there. I thought it was interesting because it's racist and homophobic, and that's kind of hard to do. Maybe not. And then Leviticus, the two that we're often cited, thou shalt not lie with a man as he lies with a woman, and then they shall surely be put to death. And the worst part is that their blood shall be upon them. It's your fault that we had to kill you for being gay. All right, this is my favorite part. So, Michelle Bachmann, and you can see back there her completely straight husband, has said at least 3 things that I wanted to point out, and I won't read them to you, but I really want to highlight that she doesn't think that she's bashing people. She thinks they have a real problem and she's trying to get them help. A very real issue of sexual dysfunction and sexual identity disorders, and those are just people that are trying to live their lives and understand their sexuality. And hitting on, you see where I'm going with this, right? And she also said that it's bondage, which again, kind of kinky, kind of weird. And her husband actually has an organization, and they try to pray the gay away. That's what they do. And in Minnesota, they had 9 suicides, teen suicides, in 2 years, and the state actually declared it a suicide epidemic area. And that's Michelle Bachmann's district, and her husband leads a group that tries to get people to pray away the gay, and she's not commented on it. She's been asked to. She's not said anything, but she said that the gays are targeting the children, that the gays are somehow causing the problems. But in reality, it's the stigma against the gays that's causing them to harm themselves, and she's completely oblivious to that. My next favorite, Rick Santorum. Let me just read what this says here. The text says, Mr. Santorum and I, the Pope is talking, are here to make sure that the government doesn't interfere with your lives. Isn't that sweet of him? So this is the man on child, man on dog quote that got him that first listing on Google, if anyone's familiar with that idea. Yes. And it's back in 2003. This was my favorite though. This one. I love my children, I love my friends, my brother, heck, I even love my mother-in-law. Should we call these relationships marriage too? Sure, that's what we're arguing for, Rick. You didn't miss the ball there at all. So I'll read this one too. Oops. It says, yeah, I guess it was a dumb invention. By the way, your mother's on her way over. And it says metal detector with a MEDDLE. Yeah, I like puns. Okay, and the last one is on parenting from Rick Santorum. And this one kind of upset me. I attached foster care statistics there. I just wanted to show people that this is harming people. If gays could marry and could have family units without stigma, then fewer kids would be in foster care. He's saying that parenting gay is worse than not having parents at all to a certain extent, and that he doesn't believe that gay parents are to the benefit of society or to the children that they parent, which is quite insulting. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on, again, this kind of loops back to the intersectionality. I wanted to kind of drive home what the costs and benefit, or the costs and benefits are of coming out and why it's harder than it might seem. So the costs are very real. You could lose your family, you could lose your job, you could be stigmatized for the rest of your life. And in small communities, like I'm sure some of you live in, this is a big concern. And the benefits, to be frank, are kind of abstract. You know, you're being honest with yourself, you find community, you are doing something good for the next generation, and you're helping people understand that we're out there. But these things are not as real as, you know, I'm gonna get a divorce, or I won't be able to see my kids, or anything like that. So we have to keep in mind that when you can come out, when you're not gonna face those things, or when you are, but it's gonna be manageable, that you really, really should. Because the more that do, the more we can mitigate those costs and kind of build the somewhat abstract benefits so that they're more tangible and more attractive to people. And pretty much finally, I just wanted to say that there are a lot of LGBT atheists, that, you know, clearly one is in front of you, and that we are out there. We just might choose different things to go after. We might choose LGBT rights. We might not say we're atheists. We might just kind of get along to go along, that kind of thing. But it's because of intersectionality. It's not because they don't care. It's because they don't want to take on an extra burden in their lives if they can't do it. So I just want to urge everyone to be empathetic. And not necessarily, I mean, I don't want a lot of pats on the back because I'm doing this, but it is hard, you know. There are hard conversations that come along with coming out anything, including LGBT or atheists. And the secular movement has to do a better job, if we want to see more diversity, of making these benefits higher and making the cost lower. And do you want to see that video again? Yeah. You can clap afterwards.
Thank you for choosing Chick-fil-A. Can I take your order, sir?
Yeah, can I get a fresh squeezed lemonade and an 8-count nugget?
Now, sir, would you like to try some of our new dipping sauces?
Sure.
We have the honey all-terrorist or Muslim mustard. It's an explosion of honey mustard taste. We also have the Jews Killed Jesus barbecue sauce. It's a sweet, tangy barbecue sauce with a spicy kick that'll sneak up on you, just like a Jew would. And finally, we have the God Hates likes Fags ranch dressing. It's a creamy flamboyant.
Okay, I get it. I'll just have the barbecue sauce.
I'm sorry, sir, you got called by name.
The Chick-fil-A barbecue sauce?
Sir, you know the name. Go ahead and say it.
I'll just have the honey mustard.
The honey all terrorist and Muslim mustard?
I'll the ranch dressing.
The guy likes Fags ranch dressing?
I'll the barbecue sauce.
The Jews killed Jesus barbecue sauce?
I'll the honey
The
mustard.
honey all terrorist and Muslim mustard?
I'll the barbecue sauce.
The Jews killed Jesus barbecue sauce?
I'll the ranch.
The guy likes Fags ranch dressing?
Fine, I'll have the God hates fags ranch dressing.
I knew we would agree.
All right, thanks, y'all. This is my contact information. Write it down, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. I love meeting new people. And I hope I have a time for a couple Q&A. Just
maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, that was more than I thought. Great.
So in Kansas City, we've been trying to reach out to LGBT groups to partner for activism events and just kind of establish that kind of interconnection, and it always is met with a resounding wall of silence. Do you have any tips on how to do that, reach out to try to build those bridges?
Yeah, I do, and I have personal experience there. For Reason Rally, I really wanted to try to get some LGBT groups out, and I contacted 10. I mean, major, big groups, and 2 called me back, and they said they would pass it along and that kind of thing. I think that they think that their salvation, excuse the pun, is in religious organizations. And I guess from a numbers perspective, they may be right, but they don't seem to understand that they fundamentally are against them. I would just say, keep trying to reach out, maybe have them, if there are skeptics events or humanist events as opposed to explicitly atheists, they might be more receptive, but I can guarantee you there are atheists in their ranks, so if you can get in front of them, you can certainly get some people to join your group as well. Hey, PZ.
Yeah. Okay, I got a difficult question for you. Now, you mentioned earlier on about mission creep and the box and all this sort of thing. And, we could say, okay, atheists is this gigantic group. There's a lot of atheists out there. But we're going to say the atheists who are racists are assholes. Forget them, right?
Right.
And then we're going to say the atheists who discriminate against gays and lesbians are also assholes. Forget them. And then the ones who think women should be subservient.
They're not.
The box is getting smaller. Okay, where do you draw the line? Do we say, okay, libertarians, fuck you, right?
I don't know. You might have got me there on that one, but I would actually argue that the box could get bigger. I would say that if we reach out and if we kind of try to support other groups, for example, the GLAAD and the NAACP have had a bit of cross endorsement lately. When the president came out in support of gay marriage, then the NAACP also came out in support, and then the GLAAD and the LGBT groups said that they were against voter suppression that is affecting largely minority groups and African Americans. So other groups are doing this, and if we want to be part of a cohesive, I would even say secular humanist in this instance, because it's more about the way that society works and the way that our government works, then we should try to strive for relevance and reach out to them too.
Okay, that's just, now, I'm 100% with that. I agree completely with that, but that's me. And I know that there are people who will protest that, yes, this is mission creep, because now we're taking the atheist box and we're saying, no, this isn't the atheist box, this is the secular humanist box, this is the social justice box.
Or the secular movement. And I think that's broad enough, and I really do think that if we reach out to women, if we reach out to gays, if we reach out to different minority groups and show them that we care, then we will get people from those groups to come to us.
And it's no loss to punt out the assholes. Right. Okay.
Oh, I don't think so at all. Thank you.
One more.
So first off, I'm sorry about the projector that was cut off. That was totally my fault, and
You
so you shouldn't apologize for me. But as a fellow bisexual atheist, I basically came out twice, first as atheist and then as bisexual. And I like to think that the one kind of prepared me for the other, but in your opinion, if you've had to do it twice or both at the same time, the reaction, which reaction was worse and why?
I did do it both times. I came out as bisexual first and then as an atheist once I was in college. And I found the reactions to be startlingly similar. So my parents, for both of them, we will always love you, and it's not something that we agree with, but we'll love you. And then I said I'm going to be an activist for both, and the reaction was the same for that. Oh, do you have to be so loud about it? Do you have to tell everyone? And that was actually the reaction for both. But I tell people most often that atheist was harder. I think I got a lot more pushback from atheism than I did from being bisexual. It's no longer PC to not like gays. That's going out the window, at least from the PC standpoint, and it's still perfectly acceptable to be against atheism. Great. Well, thank you very much, y'all. I appreciate it.